Hi, Leslie. Welcome to Voices of Endpoint. It's wonderful to have you here. Leslie, why don't you describe your journey before you came to Endpoint? What did you do, and what was your journey, and how did you come to Endpoint?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me. So basically, I guess I could start my journey in university. I double majored in biology and English. So I've always been interested in science and the way life is organized and sort of a technology aspect there, but not fully technology because it is science and those overlap, but they're not quite the same. So a few years after university, I went to work in the kind of pharmaceutical industry, but in like a preclinical space. So I was working at a chemistry company that manufactured peptides for preclinical research, so used in animals and universities and things like that. So while I was there, I sort of got interested in almost like the business side of science because I worked with the COO a lot, and we would work on coming together with proposals for how to do custom projects and do things we hadn't done before. So that was sort of an interesting introduction to process creation and the practical side of these things that we've been learning about in school. So after I was there for a while, I kind of realized that if I wanted to progress, it would be a good idea to go back to school. So I went back to school in like 2013 and switched over to computer science. So I went to UCL in England, was there for a year, and learned more about just the fundamentals of coding and also some aspects of design and computational biology. I did a thesis project on computational biology, and that was really interesting, talking about relatedness not only through like a latest common ancestor, but um, through groups of genes and using an algorithm to represent genetic distance. So I worked on optimizing that algorithm, and you can kind of see the way that computer programming can, when done well, can further the goals of scientific research. And then after graduating, I worked on my database skills at City College in San Francisco, and really learned a lot about SQL Server, T-SQL, and just the practicalities of databases. So after that, I started working at Endpoint as a junior DBA. So doing a lot of optimization, working with just making kind of a black box, like the code needs to have this output. How can you make it faster? So in that process, I came to know the computer systems at Endpoint, but also like all the slowly over time, you kind of absorb the acronyms and the kind of jargon that you have in pharmaceutical industry and understanding the organization that we have at Endpoint. So after doing that for a couple of years, I went from junior DBA, to dramatic pause DBA, not quite senior DBA, so just like regular DBA, I guess you could say. Did that for a couple of years, same area of interest, but just progressed down the career path for that. And then just last year I was promoted to senior DBA. So I've been here for about 10 years overall.
Great journey, and great science background. Seems like your passion for making things work from a science, but also computer science perspective. Thanks for that. So, what's a typical day in a life of a senior DBA at Endpoint? What happens?
Well, at the end of the day, we're in charge of protecting the data, making sure that it is correct and safe. We manage who can access the data, so following the principles of least privileges. So, and then also monitoring. So we have a lot of software around determining what's happening in the shared resources. So for example, if you ever got an email from me saying, stop blocking on prod, that's because when a query runs for too long or has a lock on an object that's needed by another process, then that causes impacts down the line. So the databases that we work with are considered shared resources, and it's important for them to be maintained. Another aspect of maintenance is planning and installing new databases, speed optimization still, and preserving the data in backups. So a lot of what I do is work with backups of the data and moving data between environments and having the appropriate data for the appropriate environment. So it's sort of like I'm the protector of the data. And I've heard people say that, for a DBA, they're doing their job well if you don't know their name. So it's sort of work in the background. Like we don't necessarily make a lot of new code. A lot of times what we're doing is working on existing code, but we also write code for database processes. Like, for example, like recently automated the failover response so that certain things that need to happen when one node of the availability group is switched to the other, that can happen without our interaction, whereas before it was more hands-on.
And that's actually a great pivot. It seems like, as you said, a good DBA is one where you don't hear too much from them, and it's the squeaky wheel is not the right place here. But tell me a little bit about these automation efforts and with all of the things which are happening today in the marketplace. I mean, there's so much going on in the database world of things are changing and evolving. So tell me your personal journey in that automation part, and what are you seeing happening recently with automation, and what do you think are potential for that?
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the challenges of my particular position here is we work with mainly with on-prem SQL Server. So a lot of the studies that we've had for several years are long-term studies, and they can't have too much change while they're already in flight. So I guess the idea is that you're kind of fixing the plane while it's flying. So working with legacy code, making sure that it is changed in a documentable way. But at the same time, it continues to function as load increases. That's another one of the challenges of my job. But with regard to automation, a lot of it is thinking of the things that I have been doing manually and just thinking about how they can be automated. I know that it sort of means different things in different fields, but for me, what I'm talking about is like writing programs that can solve problems that I'm familiar with. So I can use my background here to simplify my work and free myself up for more time to do new things.
So what are some low-hanging fruits that you're already tackling on, to simplify our work? What's coming in the way of your work, and what are you doing to take it off your plate?
Well, the project I'm working on right now is adding verification to automating like the verification of backups taken at study close down, because I know that there's kind of a manual process at this point, and to make a program around that would automate the parts that can be automated, and also add more output and more what's called a checksum, so a verification step that you can use to, I'm saying the word verify a lot, but make sure that the backup is the same over time. So that helps with data integrity and preserves it into the future. So that's one process that I've been automating.
Wonderful. And in this journey, Leslie, you've been a scientist, now a computer scientist, a DBA, highly technical. What are you seeing the impact of AI in your role, and are you using it, not using it? If you are, what kind of use cases are you applying to use that?
Yeah, I mean, I think AI is really exciting. I've been working with mostly Copilot so far, but I think we're doing Claude next. And it's really useful to do, at this point, a pretty defined task. So if you are clear with the objectives and the tools that you want to use, which language you want to use, for example, it can pretty effectively give you a reasonable attempt at the code that you need in the first iteration. And then, you'd want to review that, of course, and add in variables and make it adapted to your particular application. But yeah, I think even in database administration, we do write our own T-SQL, and having AI assistance with that is going to be very useful too. In fact, the other day, I just sent Copilot a screenshot of an error, and I said, "What's wrong?" And without any much more guidance than that, it was able to kind of understand what I was trying to do and then give me feedback on what I could be doing better. So, but when it comes to AI, I think it's also important that it's a tool that humans use, and we want to make sure that it's responsibly developed, and that at the end of the day, it's human oriented, and also that it can be used in as a kind of accessory to what we're doing. We want to remember how to think, and also considering that in the future, the cost of AI might go up. So making sure that we have teams that are able to solve problems on their own and also with AI, I think is going to be important going forward.
No, very, very, very fair words. So what does Leslie do outside of work at Endpoint?
Yeah, well, I like the outdoors. I like going hiking, like arts and culture. Went to the ballet a lot this winter. So music, things like that. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Friends.
Yeah, fantastic. And you've been here for 10 years. You've seen several leaders come in and go. Jennifer and me have been here for a year. What do you like we should continue to do? What do you think we should not do? What do you think are scopes for improvement for us?
Yeah, I think even in the short time, I've really appreciated that you have a background in very technical background. So I think you make good decisions about organizing the company as a technology company. I think, as much as our area of application is healthcare or, clinical research, what happens behind the scenes is just building software mostly. So I think as long as we can continue to have leadership that is aware of modern technical challenges and can set a course that is informed by the latest technology, but also takes the time to consider the people that are behind it, I think that would be all I can ask.
No, very fair base. It's tech and people coming together. And I always call it that tech has to enable people to be much more efficient and productive. So thank you for that. Anything else we can improve or continue on?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to team development, I think sometimes in the past we've been a little bit short-sighted and just trying to push the next release out the door. But teams are built over years. So it's important to keep training the next generation of the team now, even though that might take an initial investment of time. But it's at the end of the day, like, we want to continue to be operating years down the line. So as hard as it might be to take time and resources away from just producing, we want to be regenerating at the same time.
Nice words, producing and regenerating. I definitely can use that. And Leslie, where do you see the DBA and senior DBA roles going in the next 12 months? How do you see your role evolving? Where do you see technology and stuff coming along?
Yeah, I think as we integrate AI into our daily processes, I think we're going to be a lot more effective, and we can certainly automate more and more processes. We're also training. Well, we have added a few people to the team, so we'll be making sure that they're integrated into the endpoint environment and can be effective down the line, and just continuing to make sure that we take our customers' data seriously and take the time to protect it into the future.
Wonderful. And Leslie, if you were to look at our cultural values, which is, empathy, passion, innovation, collaboration, quality, what appeals to you the most, and what do you really come together every day to work at Endpoint for?
Yeah, I think that collaboration is really important to me. I think that it's nice to be on a team and in an organization that values coordination and cooperation, and we're kind of mission driven more than competitive or cutthroat in that way. So I think I like to think of it as maybe every day I don't cure cancer, but I help people who help people cure cancer. So it's really just like the mission and the dedication that people have to that mission is inspiring.
Very nice. And if you were to talk to somebody and say why they should come and join Endpoint, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I'd say we're doing good work, and the people are great, and not only competent but also kind, and you have a lot of opportunity to set your own idea of what you think is what matters to work on. So there's a fair amount of autonomy there, which allows you to be creative. I like to do the creative problem solving, and I think a lot of people do too. So I think Endpoint's a good place for that.
Wonderful. With that, Leslie, I mean, this was a fantastic conversation. Really appreciate what you bring to the table, and thank you for being at Voices of Endpoint.
Thank you so much.